Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Fantasy Basketball podcast. I'm your co-commissioner, Tim Ghiorso, and I'm joined by a very special guest, Mr. Zaid. Zaid, how are you?
Good. How are you, man?
Good. What's your last name, by the way? I forget what your last name is.
Hadid.
Adid.
Hadid.
Adid.
Yeah,
Zaid
like
Adid.
Gigi
Like
Hadid.
what?
Like Gigi Hadid.
Gigi Hadid. I don't get that.
There's a famous model. Her name is
Oh,
Gigi.
okay.
I have the same last name.
Oh, I see. I see. Oh, very cool. I'm glad to have Zaid joining me today on a pod. We're going to talk some NBA for you. Sorry, I got to clear my throat there. We're going to talk some NBA. Well, first, I'm going to interview Zay a little bit. He's going to tell you a little bit about himself, how he got into basketball. Then we're going to talk a little bit about our epic championship duel that went down last year that I lost, I guess, but no big deal.
It was close,
Not
man.
too much. And then we'll talk a little bit about what happened this year, and then we'll kind of go into what's going on in the world now with the whole corona and how we think the NBA season is going to play out and who we think are our MVPs of the season, and we'll get into that towards the end. So let's start off, Zay. I would love to hear about when you started to get into basketball. I don't know if it was something where you started playing basketball and then you liked following it, or vice versa. But just give
Right.
us a little background on how you started to come to love this game of basketball.
Man. So I think as early as I can remember, maybe around age 4 or 5, we had one of those like Nerf basketball, cardboard things in the house, and I was playing with that. In kindergarten, there was a big a lot of basketball and for recess time, and I was definitely playing that all the time with friends, and I loved the game starting then. And then I started to watch a lot of basketball. Um, I was actually, I think I like the Sixers, or maybe I think in like 1999, 2000, I was into them. Watching Iverson in the finals, I remember that.
Uh,
He was, I got his like shoes. I was big into him. He kind of amplified my basketball. Um, and then I actually, fun fact, I actually did like the Lakers for like 1 year. Um, and I
oh,
don't.
I'm stunned by
While
this revelation.
while I'm wearing a Kings shirt, I'm
Oh,
confessing. I like the Lakers for 1 year. I
what
have
do you
a
remember what year that was?
I think I want to say it was the year they played the Pacers, maybe in the finals. I think I was into them a little bit at that time. I think maybe that was 2000.
Are you a Kobe
And
fan?
uh, I wasn't like a
It's okay
player
to
fan.
admit we all have our times in our life where it's we're in a dark place and we do
Yeah.
stuff we're not proud of. So you know, it's
Man,
okay to admit. Safe space here.
I know, man. I honestly don't think I was a big player fan at the time. Just like the Lakers, they were good at the time. I just stuck with them. But then my brother took me a few basketball games during, maybe I think the following season, and he took me to some Kings games. I think my first ever NBA game was Kings versus Timberwolves, with Garnett playing, and
Ooh,
that,
nice.
yeah, that was KG's prime, and then ever since then, I was all the way Kings through the dark times, or I guess the good times, but dark endings with
The
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 01, oh
continued
02.
the continued darkness that
Right,
we
yeah.
find ourselves in as the Kings. I'm sure we'll get into more Kings talk later on. Okay, so you grew up, you were playing basketball from a young age
Right,
on cardboard hoops and such, and
right,
started following the Sixers, got into the
right,
Lakers, and got into the Kings.
right.
How did you get into fantasy basketball? When did that start?
Ooh, fantasy basketball. So I had a neighbor. Um, he was my, couple houses down. I used to go outside and play basketball every day. Every day after school, we come back, we just shoot around, play one on one, whatever. That was from ages, I want to say, sixth grade to, end of my high school. He was 3 years older than me, so near high school time, he went off to college. So I guess I didn't see him as much, but from like sixth to 10th grade, there's a 4 or 5 year period where I'm playing basketball with this guy all the time. He's 3 years older, and he kind of introduced me to basketball, fantasy basketball. He got me in his one league. I felt like real good. These guys are 3 years older than me. I'm in this like cool fantasy basketball league with these guys. There's I'm learning about all the stats and stuff, and I don't think I did very well. I think I was like ninth or 10th out of 12th place at that time, but Yeah, that's I think when I first started, then it just amplified making my own leagues from then in middle school and getting all my friends in it. Eighth grade, ninth grade, and then still in it today.
Yes, please, dude. Yes, please. What is it about what is it about fantasy basketball that you like so much? What draws you
Uh,
to it?
I think there's two big things. One, I think we can both say this, it makes us follow the game close, the game that we love. We'll follow it even harder. We'll follow the stats harder. We'll follow like certain players. We kind of have like a bond with these players that you draft a little bit for a year. I think that's a cool feeling. And then I've always been into numbers, so seeing all these stats, seeing all these numbers fly around, and all these advanced stats now these days, it's fun to keep up with and see how these players are doing, seeing if players are being overrated a little bit with their stats, underrated, efficiency stuff. It's fun stuff to keep track of.
I couldn't agree more. I feel the same way where I feel like we get to sort of in a way we get to experience what it's like to be a general manager
Right,
of like an NBA GM, right? Like we're drafting guys, like we're investing in these guys, we're scouting these guys.
right.
We are obviously we don't have to worry about necessarily team chemistry
Yeah, you
like a
don't have to
GM
worry
would
about
have to. Like, oh, I need like a veteran presence in my locker room, like we don't need
it.
that in
Right.
ours. So that's the one element that you're missing, but all the other elements are like exactly what an NBA GM would be dealing with. He'd be dealing with he'd be looking at stats, he'd be looking at like how to form this team. So I feel like
And you,
I totally agree. Like I love the numbers. I love getting to basically getting to scout is the coolest thing when I'm watching like the NCAA tournament and like watching players. I get like, do I want to draft this guy? Am I, you know? So I
and you do
totally
you
understand where you're coming from,
you
and
do
I couldn't
dynasty
agree
leagues
more.
too, right? So I think those are even cooler. Do I haven't done many myself, but
You would
you're
love it.
yeah, you're kind of evolving with these players too, and you're scouting from years before.
Yes, I highly recommend doing a dynasty league. I would love to turn our league into a dynasty league, or maybe
Yeah.
even do another league. Oh, that might be too many leagues. but but if I can get you, if you're interested, I could potentially, if we need spots, I can try to get you into my dynasty because
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. It's 24 teams, so there's trades going down all the time.
oh wow.
Like during the summer, there's a trade every day. At least second round pick, first round picks going, lower end guys going, big guys going. Like it's great, and you have that attachment to where it's like I'm gonna have this guy for the next 10 years,
Oh
kind of
wow.
feeling.
And it's on
Um,
ESPN too?
it's this one's on Fan Tracks. It's
Oh, okay.
a different site, but it's still pretty solid. Like I'd say
Okay.
it's not quite as good as ESPN, but it's still
Yeah.
solid.
That sounds fun,
Well,
man.
that is awesome. I would love to hear your. You said you play a lot of basketball. What is your like NBA player compare? Like who? And be honest,
Yeah.
who does your game line up with? Me
Um,
personally, I'm like a Patrick Beverly. I'll grind it
oh,
out on
nice.
D. I'm a little undersized, but I can hit some shots. I'm gonna like get in your head. I'm gonna mad dog you.
I
That's
love
like,
it, man.
you know, or like a TJ McConnell. I like to dish. I like to
Oh, TJ McDonald.
play the
Okay.
smart game.
As
So
long
who's
as you're
your
not
player?
as long as you're not hurting Russell Westbrook type players, after timeouts being
I'm
called
not.
or
I
something.
would say I'm maybe that's a bad comparison because I've never. I play really good defense, but within the rules.
Yeah,
There are
that's good.
times where any good defensive player is gonna have to push the boundaries a little bit
Yes.
without a doubt. But
You're
I
not
don't think
hurting
I've ever
people.
intimidated anybody or
Yeah.
so maybe it's not quite. Maybe more like McConnell. He's a little bit more.
TJ McConnell. No, he's good. Maybe a
Yeah.
little Matthew Dellavedova.
Oh God, not Matthew. That's probably true. He can't really shoot that well, and I'm like not the best shooter, but I'm working
Right.
on it.
Right.
Um, but yeah. So what's yours? What's your player comparison?
Man, it's hard. I have my dribble is okay. It's not great. My left hand's not that great. I'm still working on that. My shooting is, my best part. Once I'm streaky, it's good. It's good fun. But my defense is everyone makes fun of my defense. I don't play too much D, so maybe a little bit of Buddy Hield right now, I guess, is a decent comparison.
Okay, okay. So you're the shooter. You like catch and shoot,
Yeah,
and
I'll do catch and shoot, but I'll also do I'll create my own shots too. I'll have some creation shots myself, but yeah, my D's not great. I'll get some picks here and there, but it's it's nothing. No Patrick Beverly or Matt Dellavedova type stuff.
okay, okay, very
Yeah.
cool. So let's talk a little bit about last year, and we
Mhm.
had a little epic finals match going on where I think you beat me 6-5 in the finals of our fantasy league. Just curious of like what was your strategy going into that season? I think what was our extra category we did? It was
Was it assist to turnover?
I think it was assisted turnover was our
Yeah.
11th category. For those of you who don't know, we do 11 categories and we swap a category each year to kind of keep, change the values of players and make it more challenging. So assisted turnover. So what was your strategy going into that year? What were a couple of your players that were like your boys that took you to the finals, took you to the championship?
All right. Well, I mean, me and Shaheen, we like to play
Oh,
for the
that's right. You
future.
have the co-owner Shaheen. I
We
forgot
have we
about
have the
that.
co-owner Shaheen, and we always we always try to play for the future, right? So we'll always pick up injured players, hoping to come out in the end. I know you have that similar strategy a lot of years too. So um, we'll try to do that. And we had a decent trade. The infamous trade with the Devin Booker for Gordon Hayward and Lonzo Ball. That's gonna get a lot of owners a little riled up, um, but I think it was fair at the time. We didn't know about Devin Booker's status and all that, but as far as strategy goes, honestly, just making trades for the future. I want to say we were in like fourth or fifth place going into the playoffs. So we didn't have a super strong regular season, but just in there enough to kind of see what happens in the playoffs. So definitely the Devin Booker trade helped us later on, and then you know for the playoffs, I kind of look at what the other team's strengths are and what I have a shot at for winning those cats. So for those categories. So I'm gonna be researching. All right, I got a shot at this at this. These are the type of players I'm gonna try to um, locate during the pickups because you get 6 pickups for the 2 weeks, right, for each matchup, and you got to try to find to see which type of player. So like for our matchup, assists was really close, right? I won by
Yep.
10 assists. I won by 5 steals. So obviously I had to pick up some um, point guards that were doing steals and assists. I think I had like a Jalen Brunson, Ish Smith, Goran Dragic, Dennis Smith Jr., DJ Augustine. Those I think were all almost most. I think all of those were pickups during the week. And each matchup's different, so maybe I have a shot at rebounds. So I had to pick up like Robin Lopez or something off the waivers or
Mm.
things like that. So definitely. Also, it could change during the week. Maybe their big player that usually gets a lot of rebounds gets hurt. That then changes a lot of different things. So you have to maybe
I
you
think
have a shot.
I think what swung our matchup was and this is my issue. So I always have this thing where I don't want to give up on a category. So
Right,
sometimes I will get guys who I think contribute in both.
right,
But I think that's what kills me sometimes because I don't win either one because I needed to just sell out for one category
yeah,
and give up the other, but I'm like
right,
so not willing until the last moment to give up on a category, and so I'll tend to like opt for a guy who can maybe give me both, but at like lesser degrees. And so I think that's
right,
what in my matchup against you, I think I still was like, okay, like I should have just committed to either steals or assists, but I kind of
mhm,
was like, well, maybe I can do both. So then I picked up like guys like Marcus Smart, or I pick up Pat Beverly, I pick up a couple guys who like Caruso, I think, who kind of can maybe get me both. But what I
right,
really regret is I should have just like I should have done what you did. And so the story of this matchup is it was like I think we were like halfway through the matchup, and we each had like a few pickups left. And the night before, I was looking at Jalen Brunson and DJ Augustine, who were really good assist guys, but who weren't really good steal guys. And I remember looking at them, and I was like, oh, these guys, because I think something happened with the Mavericks, an injury had happened, so Brunson was going to have a lot of time.
right.
Augustine, there wasn't really any competition for him, so he was a starter there. So I was like, I should pick up these guys, but I was so afraid of like giving up on the steals that I hesitated and I did not pick them up. And the next
Right.
morning I saw that Mr. Zaid here had picked both of them up and had got to start him for the week, and I mean he won by 10, 12 assists. So Like that was the matchup right there. Just me not like me hesitating on just surrendering a category. Just being like,
Right.
okay, steals, I'm surrendering you. I'm just going for the assists. And I lose both. I lose both steals and assists because I just could not like commit to one of there. And you had great strat. You saw what I could. You did what I couldn't do, and you said, okay, I'm going for the assists,
But
and
yeah,
you ended up
it's
winning
it's
both. You know.
it's also a little lucky too, because like if we look at the field goal percent, I won by 0.006 or 0.007 uh percent. So I mean, like maybe
Was it that close? Was it that close?
I think so. I'm looking at it 46.23 versus 46.98. Uh, it's such. I mean, these numbers thing. It's so lucky. You know, maybe if you had like a if you didn't pick those guys up, but maybe your field goal percentage would have been lower or something. I don't know. There's always like two sides of the. And you know, if you pick up, if we, I don't know how I still won with Brunson and with Augustine. I don't know if they shot well that week. It's you know maybe I just got a little lucky with them shooting wise too, which helped a little bit. So
Dang,
um,
you're right. There was the field goal percentage was
I mean
wow. I don't
that's
know
as
how
close as
close that
you can get.
was.
Yeah, that's as close as it'll get.
Wow.
Um,
That's
but
fantasy, man. That's
I mean
fantasy. It
that's
just comes
fantasy.
down to, for the most part, the reason I like fantasy basketball more than fantasy football, and I tell people this all the time, is because fantasy basketball is typically more consistent. Like you
Right,
don't typically, like it kind of works the way the NBA works, where you typically don't see a lot of like Cinderella stories
right,
because it's consistent. It's over a week span. There's a lot less like random injuries or random
right,
guys getting like in the NFL. God, I haven't won in the NFL in a while because, well, typically basketball season starts mid NFL season, so my NFL fantasy leagues start to like drop off just because I don't
right.
have the time to do both. Uh,
Uh-huh.
so I kind of just like, all right, I'll do basketball. But yeah, there's just so much randomness to like your star running back gets hurt
Sure.
week one of the playoffs. Oh, that's it, you're out. You know what I mean? But basketball,
Right.
you have like a little bit more time to like, oh shoot, my player goes out. I can drop him. I can pick someone else up. You have more time, so it's more. I like the consistency of it, and it's just
Right.
more plays out how it's kind of supposed to. Whereas
Yes.
football can just be so like random sometimes. Like
That's a good
just dudes
point.
getting benched and you're like, that's it. That was my one day, my one shot. My running back got hurt. My other guy got benched. Over. Done with. Nothing I can do. And then you get, people like my dad winning leagues who just he could never win a league, but he
Uh,
does.
I was just gonna say, like, you only get one shot a week, and so if you know something happens, that's a one loss out of 16 or 13 of the whatever the regular season is. So you know, like 10%, 8% of the season is gone because you know Coach Belichick decided not to play Burkhead as much as the you know Sonny whatever the guy's name is, I
So
forgot.
Michelle, I
Yeah.
can't, I can't tell you how many leagues NSL like fantasy leagues I've been in where my record during the regular season is like great. I'm like 12-1, or I'm 10-3, or I'm like so solid out week one or out week two, just because
That's fantasy.
someone gets hot, someone has like a huge game, and I'm like, man, this
Right.
sucks. There's too much randomness to it. That's why I like the NBA. NBA, it's like it's kind of consistent. You kind of know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
The less,
No, I
but
agree.
again, there still is enough variation to where like our matchup could be so like so
Right.
close and so much of a battle. So it was. I enjoyed our battle. I gave you did what I
Yeah.
could not. You made the right pick at the right time, and I
It's
give you the
better
credit. You
it's
did it,
better to
but
be
I learned
lucky than
from it. I
man.
learned from it. Um, Now,
Hey man.
sorry. So this year has been interesting because we have a new category. We have adjusted field goal percentage, which is definitely stacked. If you look at Basketball Monster, it's stacked. The bigs, it's like all bigs in the top 12, other
Right.
than I think Harden and um, Lillard are the only
Right.
two guards in that top 12 for Basketball Monster. Um, but you did not have as good a season this year, Mr. Zaid. And
So
so I heard some rumblings, and I don't know if this is true or not. You're gonna have to kind of set the record straight. Maybe this is some fake news. I heard there was maybe some possible tension between co-owners Zaid and Sheen. Is there any truth to this? And if
uh
so, if I don't want to get you guys into trouble, but I'd love to, I'd love to hear some juicy, some sweet gossip.
um I guess there's not too much tea. You know, if we had a good season, it would have been fine. I think we had a bad start to the season. A lot of things were crumbling down. almost immediately from the start, right? We traded Harden, who's like a top five guard, for top five guard, which is supposed to be a big man league. So he's like extra special. You're getting a guard that's doing all these good things for the categories, and we traded him for a guy that gets hurt for the pretty much the whole season, Steph Curry. Um, and then other than that, free agent pickups, we had a couple of disagreements on them, and that started to be blown up. But it was after that things calmed down, and
Could I get any? Is there any specifics on like, was there a player in particular that you guys were like, Shaheen really wanted to pick him up, and you're like, no. Like, can you remember
so
any specific players?
so for me, I think the one big one that I remember was Rajon Rondo. I wanted him badly. He was hurt at the beginning of the season, and all of a sudden, I see him on the free agent market, and I was like, we got to get him. Shaw said, he's not feeling it, not the right time, and I said, you know what, we got to do this. I think this guy's Lakers are gonna be high pace. He's gonna get a lot of assists. He's gonna get a lot of points here and there. He'll be like a triple threat factor. And so I ended up doing it, and that wasn't right on my part, and we had a big disagreement over that. And so,
Oh
um,
man, okay.
and so that was the big blow. That was pretty much honestly that was the main blow of our disagreements for the season. That was the biggest one. After that, our team wasn't doing so well, and I was wrong. Rajon didn't do anything pretty much the whole season. I thought he was going to be a top 75 player. I don't think he even cut it that far. I mean, he was hurt most of the season too, so it wasn't even worth it to pick him up. But I ended up dropping him anyway, and it didn't go too well for the rest of the season.
Hey, at least
That,
I respect that you can like admit, hey man, I made a mistake.
yeah,
Like that's takes guts to admit that.
yeah, it
Um,
hurts. It hurts. But
how do you guys if you guys are like in kind of okay like especially if you're drafting or you're trying to add a guy, do you have like a determination for if you both are like feel strongly about something, do you just not do it? Do you like flip a coin and whoever heads or tails, okay, we're going with what you
okay.
want? Like how do you determine those kind of
Yeah,
dynamics?
coning is different. Like, I mean, it's hard. A lot of people think it's easier, but I
Oh,
ful like
so I
like,
tried it and
yeah,
I hated it. I
it's
hated every
harder,
moment of
right?
it. I'm a little
It's
bit of a
hard.
control freak, you might know. So
Exactly. And I think me and Shaw are both, control freaks as well because, he has a lot of leagues. He's in a lot of basketball and football leagues. And so, we're going back and forth about certain players. But I think so the first season is the hardest, right? It's because we actually did well during the season. We'll have arguments on certain players, but usually we'll let if someone feels strongly about a certain player, just go for it, right? Just add the player. If one's like really disagreeing with it, um, we really don't have much of those things where one is like, all right, except that Rondo one, right? That was really the only time where we had like, all right, don't pick him up at all, dude. But other than that, so after we won the league last year, this year it's a lot easier. We'll trust each other for any pickups. So during the whole year, one person's adding some, each of us are adding players during the whole year, and so it was fine.
like
Nothing.
without so you would just add like you wouldn't have to like, hey Shaw, I'm thinking about adding so and so. Is that cool? You would just
Right.
do it, and then he
In
would
the
like
be-
see it the next day, kind of thing.
in the beginning of the season, we did that a little bit, but then we're like, this is just Adam. It doesn't matter. It doesn't help that our team wasn't that good this year, so we're like anything that can help is going to be beneficial to our team. Just trying out anything. We're just scraping for whatever potential big time stars there are in the free agency. So just do whatever. And as far as trades, we'll trust each other for trades. Make any trade request you want, and we'll still talk about it here and there. We'll talk about like, hey, I'm gonna probably put this guy on the trade block, and that's fine. Offer up whatever trades as far as trades go, we'll let anything go by.
So I was actually going to take this time to do a little venting for myself here. So a kind of funny
Okay.
story. Armeen will appreciate this. So this was a couple weeks ago. This was right before, actually, no, it's more like a month ago. This was right before the fantasy playoffs started, I think. No. It was maybe either right before it started or like mid first playoff matchup. So I go to the gym and I always run into Armeen at the gym. Like it's just this weird thing where, and even at different gyms, like we'll both be at one gym and then we'll like randomly see each other. And then so I went to Cal Fit one day, and
Okay.
hey, there was Armeen working out, pumping iron. He was looking pretty ripped too. So I was like, damn, bro, this guy's been working out. So I go up, we're chatting, we're talking, of course we're talking fantasy basketball stuff. And so he's like, man, like I don't know what fantasy gods you pray to, but dude, your team is always healthy, especially for like the playoffs and like just always healthy, man. Like, how do you do it? Like, who do I talk to like get my team this healthy? And I'm like, thanks, man, I appreciate that. Like, I don't know. Like, I get lucky. I mean, I'm pretty good at like managing risk as far as not always having guys who are the more injury prone side. Sometimes I'll take risks here and there, but um, and so thanks, man. So we chat, blah, blah, and then, we go our separate ways, do our workouts. So a couple days later, I think the matchup, the semifinal matchup starts. I'm going against Cody, who's got a really, really good team. And so right off the bat, LaMarcus Aldridge hurts his calf. They don't know how long he's going to be out. I'm like, okay, great. And then Andre Drummond hurts his calf as well.
Wow.
And they're like,
Same injury.
oh yeah, we don't know if we don't want him to play until he's 100% healthy. So I've got literally 2 of my top 3 picks out.
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
okay, this is great. This is fantastic. So then, I think the first game, first matchup, Josh Richardson gets concussion. I'm like, okay,
It's
awesome.
piling
Okay,
on.
this is great. Okay. Then what happened after that? So then I had Bruce Brown from the Pistons, who also,
Right.
I think, another calf injury as well.
Wow.
He was
3
out.
calf injuries in the first 4 days.
Some of them were like sort of a little bit injured before, I think,
Right.
but I sort of thought they would come back, but then they didn't. So that was a little bit on my part. I'm gonna pull it up real quick so I can remember who
This is
all.
the this is
I
the
literally
back
can't remember off the top of my head how many people on my team got hurt for this matchup.
this is the
Oh,
backstory of
so
you renaming your team Armeen's Curse.
yes, exactly. And let me go back to what my team looked like before I had to make a bunch of drops. Let's see here.
That's always the worst, man. When you're healthy most of the time, all year, first week of the playoffs, down goes your first few picks.
I know. And let me look. So I'm gonna look up a chat real quick because I would every day that I would have a new guy injured, I would post to Armeen on this chat on the group me chat. And be like, oh, this guy's injured now. Okay, this guy's injured now, just to kind of like rub in, like, what did you do to me? So I'm gonna pull it up real quick.
I don't know if that gym session was worth it to go to, man.
Dude, if I could like go back and not work out that day, I'd be great. Okay, so here's our chat. So I pulled up. So I talked about like, LaMarcus and Drummond both sit first day of the playoffs. And then I I messaged him later. I said Richardson got concussed as well. Great. I texted him like another like either the next day or soon after. Bruce Brown still out as well. And then I said, so then I made some pickups because I was like, all right, well I got to get some dudes. So then Jaylen Brown gets hurt as well,
Oh,
injured
wow.
string, and I
You
ended up having to
dropped
drop him. I think you
Yeah.
picked him up maybe.
I think Chad did.
Then I pick up Kevin Porter Jr. for the Cavs because I'm like, dude, they're giving him tons of playing time. He can get steals, blocks. So he gets a head injury in the first game. He's hurt. So I'm like, and I'm like, well, that's it. He's probably not going to play the rest of the matchup because they have no reason to risk him since it's a tanking team.
Right.
And then I pick up the dude from the Heat who got traded to the Heat. I'm blank on his name right now. Who was it? Jay Crowder. So I pick up Jay Crowder, who takes a shot to the jaw early in the game, leaves the game as well with a concussion or something like that. And then of course, Drummond continued to sit, Aldridge continued to sit.
Man,
and then I think so this one was funny. So then I messaged him because 2 of my players fought each other and got ejected. I think it was Rudy Gobert and OG I forgot how to say his name. Anunoby.
That's all I say.
So they fought each other and got ejected. So
these are games count against you in the playoffs.
So my team just basically like I knew I really didn't have a chance. Although it might work out to where I'll still, because we're gonna have to probably just do the payments.
Hmm.
The top 4 teams gonna have to split the
Right.
money. It
Right.
may end up like not mattering at all anyway.
Right.
But thanks, Armeen, for your great luck, and appreciate you just really jinxing my team. I
Um,
might keep my team name as Armeen's Curse for a while, but
I'm gonna make sure not to go to the gym where Armin's going once playoff time comes.
maybe he was like he had a version of the coronavirus that was like the fantasy virus that he passed on me or something, and just stay away from Armeen. He might infect your team and just cause all your players to get concussions on the same day.
I mean,
Anyway,
that's like
so
that's like players.
say it again.
That's like 10 players you had that are just got in fights, got hurt during a game, hurt during early in the playoffs. Man, that's rough. So what?
I guess I was due. I was due, right? I was due for some bad luck then, it always
Yeah,
swings both ways,
it happens. It happens.
But now we're still, I'd say most likely the NBA won't have a regular season. And if they do, it'll be something super short. So I imagine that the top 4 people in the consolation will split $5 each. We'll
Right.
probably just not have anybody get the extra
Draft pick.
extra chance in the lottery. We'll just be
Right.
like, well, we'll just get even odds next year. Probably just take the top 4 people. We'll just all split what the rest of the pot that would have been there for first, second, third.
Right.
I'm assuming that's how it's going to go. I'm still holding out in hopes that maybe like something miraculous happens and we start the NBA season sooner. But so I was curious what your thoughts were on that. If you think NBA season's over, do you think we're still going to have like a little bit of a regular season? Do you think I got to imagine we'll still have at least a playoffs at some point? Like there's just too
Right.
much money to be made to not like, unless it's really, really bad here still, to not have something going on.
So just a quick thing. Before we get into that, what do you think? Like, tell me about your like fantasy season. How do you think like you did? Like, I just want to get your thoughts on how the overall fantasy season has happened so far. Like, you know.
Um, I'd say I did pretty well. I researched well, and I knew that I wanted to get big men because
Right.
I ended up being later in the draft, so I knew I wasn't going to get some of like those really good, like the James Harden or the Nikola Jokic type guys who gets more assists. So I was like, all right, I'm building around bigs. I went,
Hmm.
I think Drummond, Gobert, LaMarcus Aldridge, my top 3,
Hmm.
and I I just knew the big men were going to be the thing with the adjusted field goal percentage and the double doubles. They were just going to have a major advantage. So I just built around bigs. I built around steals, blocks, field goal percentage adjusted, and I feel like for most of the year, I feel like I did get a little complacent because I was in
Hmm.
first for a lot of the year, and I
Right.
noticed that I was not. I was spending a lot of time on my dynasty league and
Right.
not as much on ours because I kind of almost had like this complacent sort of like, oh, I'll be fine. Like my team's great. I'll
Right.
So I noticed like I would guys would get picked up and I would look back and be like, oh man, I need to be like more focused because like I remember DeJounte Murray, like Cody got DeJounte Murray and I'm like, oh shoot, he would have been a perfect fit for my team. But
Right.
I was just kind of nonchalantly like, oh, I don't have to check my team that much. I'm doing great. So I think
That
I was too
fast.
complacent
Hmm.
and missed out on some guys that I could have really made my team super, super strong. And I did get lucky with something like I got Christian Wood, which was huge. Made the
Right.
trade for John Collins, which was a great trade.
Awesome.
And I still think if without all those injuries that happened, I think I still would have had a shot to beat Cody. Like it would have been close. It wouldn't have been like
Right.
I would have killed him. I think our first matchup we played was pretty close as well. So it would have been close, but I think I still would have had enough to
Edge you out.
compete for a championship. But I definitely noticed I was a little more complacent than I should have been. And I spent a lot of time in my dynasty league, which I was really excited about because I honestly think I would win it this year. I'm in the semis right now,
Oh wow.
but unfortunately, that's going to get our
Damn.
league kind of already decided that we're just going to pay everybody out, and that's that. And I'm like, I was so bummed. Like when I heard about the coronavirus news and the NBA was shutting down, like my first thought, I know it's probably like so selfish and so dumb, but
Yeah.
my first thought was, oh no, I can't win dynasty. I can't win my like that was like the thing I cared about. Like, no, I want to like because these are
It takes
guys,
so
is
much
24
time.
people. They're all people that used to write for the website that I used to write for, Hoopball. So these are
Yeah.
like really top guys, and it would have felt so good to like because they kind of give me a lot of crap off our like chat a lot, and it
Right.
would have been so nice to just rub it in their little freaking faces and just beat them. Oh, that's so freaking good. Oh man, so I'm
I know
so disappointed.
it sucks because you put so much time into it. The whole year you're scouting all these players every day, you're doing these trades every day, and then all of a sudden, it was all for cancellation of the season. But it happens. I guess I wasn't too upset. My team this year was full of injuries. Absolutely, just every
You
other week
suffered
there's
on your team.
something. Sorry?
So you had Curry go down. That was the huge one. That was like, man, like
Yeah.
brutal, just absolutely brutal.
Yeah,
I
that
feel
was
for you on that.
two days after I did the trade too, so that one was tough. That was my first round pick, pretty much gone for the season. I picked up Vucevic, who was out for 4 or 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
My third round pick was Clint Capella. He was out he's been out for a while near the end of the season, but he was also out for about a month. Or Then we got Lauri Markkanen. He was out for 6, 8 weeks, I think, during the season, six at least. He was our fourth or fifth round pick. Jonathan Isaac was our fifth or sixth round. He was
That
out
one was
for the year.
when I saw that happen, I was like, oh man, because that guy was like a monster, like
Yeah,
three
he was
blocks
doing
a
really
game,
well.
multiple steals,
He gave
three
us
pointers. Like he's gonna be a top first, second round guy here from here on
100%.
out, pretty much. As long as he
Right.
can stay healthy, that's his kind of
That's it.
bugaboo.
And then we had a couple other. Those are like our first 5, 6 picks. DeAndre Ayton, I guess we did trade for him, so that's on us. But he also got hurt after he came back. He still played about what 30, 40 games. I want 30 games, and
Mm-hmm.
I think you mentioned in your previous podcast. So it was decent trade, but he still got hurt a little bit for couple weeks here and there, and then yeah, those are our first 4 or 5 picks, and in this league, if you lose a big guy like one or two big guys, you're done. Everyone's too competitive. Everyone's too good. It's hard to unless you're on the waiver wire, constantly. Which I don't think we should have done a little bit better on, but it still was a tough team. And it was quite funny because the draft day we were picking we were our first, it was the fifth pick I think, and we drafted Harden, but we wanted to, after like 5 minutes after the pick, we were like, I think we should have picked Jokic, dude. You
Oh
know,
no.
we were telling each other like I think that was the better pick, and then our third, like we still would have picked Vucevic, but our third round pick instead of Capella would have been a guard, or not a guard, but a forward, because we picked Vucevic and Jokic were two centers, so we would have picked up Siakam. I think was our third round. That would have been our third round choice, and
Ooh.
that I think that would have been a totally different year for us if those two things happened. But um, yeah,
Ooh,
that's
wow.
it's just one player can change the whole thing, right?
Yeah, that's so crazy how just these like you think these decisions like oh it's not a big deal, but like yeah, especially your first 5 rounds, it's like if you lose a first round pick, like the odds of you even making the playoffs are in a league this competitive are man
Yeah,
slim. Like
right.
you gotta get
You got hit on.
lucky.
Yeah,
So you lost your first round pick, you lost other top in the first 5 rounds, you lost some other picks as well. So it's like
right.
you really had no chance to
Yeah,
over. That was
it's
just
one of those
not.
years.
You got
Uh,
struck by the Armeen's curse this year.
I think so, man.
Not in the playoffs.
Caught the fantasy basketball curse this year. But it hurts more for you
That's brutal.
because you were good like the whole year, and then in the playoffs, that's when starts going downhill. That hurts even more.
I did have thoughts. I remember when the trade deadline came around, I was like, should I trade Drummond? Should I trade LaMarcus? Because I thought Drummond was playing for the Pistons at the time, and I thought, well, they're not competitive, then they're more likely to sit him.
Right.
And if and same with I was like, are the Spurs really going to be competitive? Are they going to be competitive enough to where LaMarcus is going to play?
Mhm.
So I decided to hang on to both of them. But looking back, I should have listened to my instinct and been like, I should have just tried to get guys who were like guaranteed playoff contending
Um,
guys who I
yeah.
knew like were not going to sit at all
Right.
because their teams had something to fight for. I feel like I ignored my instinct on that.
Hmm.
And it's possible like I might not have found a trade good enough anyway, so it might have happened regardless. But I regret not at least listening to that kind of instinct to at least see what was out there. What could I have gotten? Because I'm all about getting guys who like have motivation to play, and when you get guys who don't, it's like so risky because they
True.
just hurt my calf. I'll just sit out a week, no big deal. Like
It's getting harder and harder with fantasy basketball because, like you said before, it's more consistent. But now this load management, whole situation, and teams being more protective of players if they're hurt. They, especially for young guys too, they don't want to add injury to these young players for future. So it's like it's getting harder. It's almost like a crapshoot sometimes. But see what teams are going to be in the playoffs, in the real NBA playoffs, and see what if they're going to play their players or not. There's I feel like the variation in basketball is climbing up a little bit. At least for me,
yeah,
maybe I had like 6 injuries, but it's I don't know. I definitely think the randomness is a little bit coming a little higher in fantasy basketball, just a little.
no, 100%. Like it's you have to manage that risk, and that's why. And my next question to you was gonna be kind of asking your thoughts on some of the trades that went down and some of the trades that were vetoed. Because the reason
Right.
I was so against the